First of all, welcome to Greece.
Thank you.
Again, we are here in the weekend of the Greek Championship of Belgian Shepherds with monitoring, EPO and agility and conformation. And we are here with the judge of monitoring.
Exactly.
So today, Saturday, you have judged already the monitoring 1 level. So do you want to tell us some words about yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? How you got involved with the dog sports?
Well, my name is Dominique Piton. I am a Frenchman. I live in France, and I got involved in dog many years ago, as far back as 1965 when I came back to France from 65. I was living in South America, and then I came back to France to continue my studies, and then I started to do some dog training. 65. So yeah, I put on this suit for many years, doing competition in suit for 20 years, and on the whole, I put the suit for almost 40 years, training my dogs and other people's dogs. So, and what I think is normal, you put the suit, you have a dog, you train your dog, you compete with your dog, and at the end, it's normal you be on the other side of the game, right? And then you start judging. So I started judging almost 20 years ago in ring, French ring. I am judging French ring, Campagne and Mondial ring, and also now rescue dogs. And so Mondial ring, well, I didn't decoy in Mondial ring because Mondial ring is rather new compared to ring and Campagne. Mondial ring started as far back as 1982. 1982, 83, 81, 83, 85. There were some meetings in the south part of Belgium, in Tournai, where some people, they just put up a show where different countries would come and they would just show their program, how they were doing things, the Italian people, the Belgian people, the Swiss, the French, the Dutch people, and so on. And out of that, they say, all right, we all have the same passion, the dog training, right? So why don't we try to build up some program where we could play together? Because if I am playing French ring and you are playing Greek ring, or the other one is playing Swiss ring, it's different programs. So let's try to get to one common program so we could play together.
It's kind of mixed martial arts or something.
Exactly. Taking into account that one of the ideas is, if you are playing, for example, if I am playing French ring, and if I want to play Mondial ring, the idea is, okay, I should be able to continue playing my program according to French ring. And that is why, when people don't know that, that's why they are a bit, astonished to see that, for example, on the out of the attack, right? The out of the attack, in Mondial ring you have 1 second free. You don't count 1 second. Why? Just because in some countries, for example in Belgium and so on, they are going to note the quality of the bite. They want a powerful, deep bite, right? A little bit like IPO too. They want a deep bite. The dog who is biting like this is not that good. It loses points, right? So, but obviously, a dog that bites very deeply, very hard, to out, he needs a little bit more time, right? Than the one who is biting like this. So saying that, we want to reward a good biting, but we want to punish disobedience, right? So he has 1 second free of charge to get out, but all the additional seconds will be counted minus 2 points. You see, for example, if I go back to French ring, in French ring, if this dog is slow to out 3 seconds, 3 times 1, he loses 3 points. In Mondial ring, he's slow to out 3 seconds. 1 second is free of charge, but the 2 others is 2 points. 2 by 4, 2 by 2 is 4. So he loses more points in Mondial ring, which is logic, I mean, you want to reward good biting and you want to punish disobedience, Another example that has nothing to do with biting, in the palisade jump, right? Palisade jump, after the jump, you have to recover your dog. There are 3 ways of recovering your dog. Either you recover your dog, heel, he comes back to heel. Either you don't say anything, the dog comes back to heel. Either you block your dog behind the palisade. Why? Just because, for example, in French ring, you have the out jump and you have the return jump, okay? So just imagine today I'm going to play in Mondial ring. X jump, au pied, and you record your dog, right? And next week, you do that 2-3 times. And next week, I'm going to play French ring. X jump. The dog, I have been recording the dog at heel, he will come back at heel, and I will miss my return jump.
So you are saying that the Mondial ring is made up of other sports, And other sports is still connected with the monitoring.
Yeah.
So that you can jump from one sport to the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, have you heard of Global Ring?
I don't have anything against these people. You know, everybody is allowed to do whatever they want. The only thing is, when people created monitoring, some of the people say, "Oh, that is my sport. I am the owner of the sport." And when they say, "No, you're not the owner. The sport is belonging to everyone, and everyone is allowed to play," they were pissed off, and they say, "All right, no, I'm going to do something else." And then they created Global Ring. Good, but I think, well, that is their way of saying things. That is not my way. You know, because at a point of time, don't believe there are so many people practicing dog sports. Not that many. Monitoring, not that many either. So, in dividing people, you know, you're playing monitoring, the usual monitoring, the regular monitoring, and now there's a Global Ring. So some people who are playing monitoring, they will go to Global Ring, and at the end of the day, both disciplines are going to go down. So which is, I think, is very stupid, and that is just for some people's benefit. I know all the guys who were involved in that, and one of them say, "All right, I am the president of the association, and I am the lifetime president." Nobody is a lifetime president. Even in the US, Mr. Obama had to leave, and the other one is coming in now. So in monitoring is the same, but you have to accept that monitoring is not my
sport.
My sport is everybody's sport. Today you are president, next day I am president. It could change, which is a good thing. And it's not because you will be president, I say, "All right, I don't agree, I'm going to create another sport." That is my way of saying that, but okay.
I understand.
But at the end, Global Ring is very similar to monitoring.
Yes, I know.
And if you look, for example, many of these sports, they are very similar one to the other, which is logical, because I mean, at a point of time, monitoring was created by taking some exercises from this discipline, from that discipline, and so on.
Yes.
And one nice thing about monitoring is every single event is a different one for the dog, because you change things. You will today the artifice will be that one. Tomorrow the retrieve will be something else. And you know, for example, in French ring, you have the same retrieve. You will have almost the whole life of your dog. It could be a pair of socks, it could be a glove, and if you retrieve, that is it. In monitoring, today it could be a brush. Tomorrow it will be a bottle with water. The day after it will be today we have what?
A glove.
A glove. Tomorrow we will have a spider. You know, so it changes every time. So, and the dog has to react properly to everything. And then you will see the capacity of the dog to react to a new environment. You know, for example, in French ring, you have the blinds for the search, which are normal blinds around the field and so on. In monitoring, it could change every time. You will see tomorrow the blinds we prepared for the dogs. They have to take initiatives, which is a very good thing.
I saw it today, the setup. So
yeah.
It needs more from the dog to find out.
Saying that, I see so many monitorings, you know, where people, they just set up a field and set up a routine just to get the dogs to fail, you know. And you know, I think every single exercise should be doable. That means if every dog fails that exercise, that means you did not do the right job. My job was not done properly. It could be difficult, but the good dogs, well-trained dogs, should be able to do it. If every dog has a 0, the exercise is not correct. It's not correct.
I understand. It's not fair, maybe, from the dog.
Oh, it's not fair. But you know, at a point of time, if you put let us say a maths problem for a child, you know, a university level, and he's in the low classes, he will get a 0. That means that guy is stupid? No, it means the problem was not appropriate to this level, right? So you have to do it correctly. And if you do that, people will have fun, and that is what they said in the rule book. The rule book, the monitoring should be fun for everyone. People who is seeing, people who is practicing, and people who is competing. It is a real challenge for people who is competing, which is very good.
So back to your history with dogs. Why you started in dog sports?
Well,
what was that made you go?
Well, I always had dogs when I was a kid in home in South America. And then when I came back to France, I met some people who were doing dog training. One who was a very famous guy in France, because he also trained dogs for pictures, for movies, you know.
Okay.
And I happened to meet that guy in 1965. and got acquainted with this guy, and I saw him train and so on, and I was very happy with that. But at that time I was a student and I didn't have place to have a dog. So I didn't have my dog, and then I moved back to Lyon, and then I had a little house and I had a place for a dog. So I got a dog. At that time my first dog was a French Shepherd, you know, the one with long hair, the Briard. I had a lot of fun with that guy. So I trained that dog and I went to a club and I put the suit, and then that's how the whole thing started, you know. And after this one died, because you know, Briard is a very typical dog, and not two dogs are alike. But you know, if you take a Briard, the other one, well, you are going to make comparisons. So I say, all right. And I had the opportunity to have a very good German Shepherd who was a son of Varro Schleckenbrunnen. So I took that dog and I trained a German Shepherd. Then I took Malinois, Tervuren, and so on.
In French all this?
In French and Campagne, yeah. And tracking, the German Shepherd, I did some tracking with that one, yeah.
So, and during the years, what is your breed now? I mean, what's your favorite breed, or with which breed you would train now?
Well, I think I don't have any specific breed. A good dog still is a good dog. Now it all depends where you want to go and what you want to do. You have some dogs, for example, everybody now is going for the Malinois, which is a very good thing, and people who have been breeding Malinois, they have done a wonderful thing in the breeding lines and so on and so on. And this dog is a very receptive dog. If you do it properly, a young Malinois, when he is 10 months old, he could have a full program, right? Very receptive dog. If you go, then another one who is also receptive but a little bit late is the German Shepherd. The German Shepherd will be a year and a half. If you go back to a French Shepherd, like a Briard or a Bosson, it takes more than 2, almost 3 years. And some dogs are never ready. You have to every day. So everybody is going for the Malinois because everybody thinks Malinois is easy. Malinois is not easy. And if you make, and they are very smart dogs also. So you have to be very careful, because what you do wrong, they get it wrong and they do it wrong.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's not their fault, it's your fault because you teach them the wrong thing. Then you have to break down everything to teach them the good thing again. So, saying that, I would prefer a good German Shepherd than a bad Malinois, or a good Bosson, you know. But again, not only that, but to bring a dog to top level, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of things, a lot of conditions. You must have a good dog, and you must have a good team. If you are by yourself, you can't do anything. You need a decoy, you need some people to help you for the jumps, for everything. So it is a team who is going to bring the dog to the top level, which is very difficult. And some people...
Really, it is really important to note that monitoring and protection sports in general, but especially monitoring, is a really teamwork.
Oh yeah.
Dog sport.
Yeah. Well, almost all sports are teamwork. If you see today, I don't practice agility myself, but I don't have anything against agility or any discipline as a matter of fact. By the time you are doing the proper thing with your dog and trying to get the best out of your dog, having fun with your dog, you have fun and the dog has fun. And today I was watching, very interesting, the agility people. I thought these little dogs were working very, very good, very nice, you know, and people are enjoying it, and I like that. So, saying that, I mean, I don't think there is any specific sport provided you do it properly, right?
So now in France, what is the level of popularity between dog sports? I mean, for example, campaign is going down, or...
Well, yes, but the only thing is campaign is a very tricky thing to say it's going down or it's going up. I have been involved in campaign for almost 50 years, well, let us say 40 years. And I have always seen that. Sometimes, you know, and as far back as 1980 something, in the championship there were only 7 dogs.
Okay.
So very few.
You can't really say that.
Exactly. And sometimes it goes up, then it goes down, then it goes up, it goes down. And you know, campaign is a very difficult sport to train. Not only that, because you have to have the environment, right? The place to train, not a simple ring. You have to be out in the
wilderness.
Exactly. Then you need water, because you have to send away in water, the retrieves in water and so on. And you need some fields to do tracking. So if you want to train properly in campaign, it takes a lot of conditions, you know.
Yes.
So
this makes it more difficult for people to work on
exactly. You know, just in the basic thing, I would say the one that is easiest to train, not the easiest on the whole, but the easiest to train is French ring. French ring, you need a field, you need some blinds, you need jumps, you need a decoy, a suit, a stick. That's about all you need, a gun, okay? Now, if you go to Monjoring, you need some more, you need some artifice, you need some specific blinds and things like that to use, to get the dog used to that. You need obstacles to do the attacks with the obstacles and so on.
It takes more...
more materials, right? And now, if you go to Campagne, it's even worse. That is why, you know, you will never get... Actually, in France, we have about 600 dogs who are in Ring 3. 600 dogs. In Campagne, on the whole, the low level and the high level, you don't have more than 40 dogs. You don't have more than 40 dogs. That explains to you, you know, the difficulty to train in Campagne. It's a wonderful sport. I love Campagne. It's very difficult to train. And I understand some people, you know, it takes a lot of time to bring back your dog to the high level in Campagne, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So back to Monjoring. What do you think about the general level of Monjoring? How it goes up, or what is your opinion about that? Competitors and dogs.
Well, I would say it depends from country to country. You know, Monjoring is a rather new sport. First of all, second of all, Monjoring, because it was not recognized by FCI for quite a long time. Maybe you know, it was fully recognized by FCI as far back as 2015. Yes. That is only 2 years ago. And some countries, they will say, oh no, we are not going to practice because we don't want dogs bite on a full suit and so on and so on. So for many countries, it's new. But what I could see, people are doing good progress on that. I go to the World Cup and I see some dogs from Austria doing very well, dogs from Russia doing very well, and more countries are coming to it. And hopefully in a few years you will have a good population practicing Monjoring. Oh yeah, I think so. Not only that, because if people training in Monjoring, you could really enjoy it. You could enjoy training and you could enjoy competing in Monjoring.
I understand.
A bit more than some other sports. You know, I have nothing against, as I said before, every sport could be good if you practice properly. But personally, I like to see IPO. I will see 1 dog, 2 dogs, and then it's always the same. The routine will be always the same. If you take, for example, a search, the blind, right? The dog is not going to search, he has to go from one to the other, and the little guy is smart, he says, oh, Dad, I know the guy is over there. No, you have to go all this. Right, okay.
It's more kind of, it ends up more like an obedience exercise
exactly.
than a really search exercise.
Yeah, okay, I have nothing against that, but saying that, by the time you do that 100 times with your dog, 200 times, 300 times, I think, well, I admire these people who are able to keep the dog to that level for how long, for that long. The dog are always doing the same thing, you know. So, okay, they do it and they do it well. But personally, that is not my thing. I prefer my dog, you know, to do a search in Monjoring where you're going to hide the guy this and that and this place, and the dog has to take some initiative. I have to go there and I find him there. I like that. I prefer that.
I think it's kind of it's a personal, the taste of the character of each person.
Oh yeah, that's what I said.
Completely on that.
No, that's what I said. Yes. But I mean, again, I respect very much the people who are doing IPO. As a matter of fact, I respect people who do it right. People who just go from one discipline to the other just because they fail in one, that's why they go to the other, or because you were not able to keep your Monjoring, now you're going to do global ring. I don't think that's interesting to do that. But by the time you do it properly, I respect people who do it. I personally won't. The only thing I very much like in the IPO is the tracking part. I love that part, but for the rest, the obedience or the biting work, protection work, well,
it's not your thing.
Yeah, it's not my thing. Look, if for example, if you do it, the routine is exactly the same all the time. In Monjoring, you are going to change from one routine to the other. Everything is different. As I was saying before, the retrieve will change all the time. Sometimes the dog has to take some initiative. In IPO, they don't want a dog to take initiative. From what I see, he learned a lesson and he has to just give back the lesson as he learned it all the time.
But into that, about the initiatives, and as we see the world level of Monjoring raises higher and higher, we can see competitions that, let's say, they demand from the dogs to not be initiative. For example, the defense of the handler. And it's really similar, the base with the NVBK defense. You can see, for example, in NVBK, the decoys, they have some meters
scenario,
away, yes, but they have some meters away from the handler that they can provoke. You can see now in monitoring that the decoys, they go really close to the dog. They are trying to steal the dog out of the handler. They do really, let's say, difficult things over the dog. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you have a dog that takes initiative like that, if you have a dog that it's too soft, let's say, the dog out of all this will go down. And if you have a super high drive dog, then the dog will bite earlier or something. So, what I want to say is that dog trainers, they forced to do their dogs more close, let's say, to EPO sharpness. So when you are inside and you do the defense, you are forced to tell your dog with signals or whatever, now you will bite, now you will not bite.
Yeah, and you're starting to cheat. But saying that, I fully agree with you. But
you are forced to cheat.
But okay.
Because it's not fair to the dog.
Okay, but whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? I mean, I really believe, I am not saying I am doing things right, but I really believe if the routine, if the program, for example, today or tomorrow, if you do it properly, then it means something. You know, for example, this morning when we did the dog in white, I told my decoys, look, it's level 1. It's level 1. We want to see the dog's obedience. Okay, if he follows the handler, he doesn't stay with you, so you're just going to go. Don't go that far, because I don't want the defensive handler to be too long.
Yes.
Young dogs. Tomorrow, level 2 and level 3, then you put some more difficulties. Again, the judge is responsible of the trial. So at a point of time, I let my decoys do this scenario and so on. Then we are going to check, dog in white, okay. Well, no, we are not going to do this, you're going to do that, because it has to make sense. Otherwise, the only thing we are going to do, if you start to have too many trials where you have all this crap going around and so on, and if you are a trainer, you're going to start cheating and you're going, at a point of time you say, all right, now the dog is at this distance, you could bite, and you're going to make a sign or whatever, what you were saying before, then you are cheating. That is not what we want to see, to make the dog bite. He might lose 2 points or 4 points, but he doesn't get a 0, right?
Yes.
And that is not what we want. And then that is why you have to build things in a correct way.
So you think in monitoring, no matter the difficulty, the dog can still operate?
Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't say no matter the difficulty. The difficulty has to be progressive according to the levels.
Okay.
If you put let us talk about something else than biting. Healing, right? Tomorrow for level 2 and level 3, we will have exactly the same part than today for level 1, right? The only thing is, I'm not going to put the horn at the same place. If I have a young dog, right, and you have an angle turning to your right, okay, I am going to make the stop at about 3-4 meters from the angle, so everybody comes down, hop, and then we go continue, right? If you are in level 3, I'm going to make the 2 stops right at the very beginning, and then we go for a long walk, and then I will see if this dog is fully trained up to the end. You see what I mean? And just with the same part, the way you're going to play on the training of the guy, you will see, you will make a difference.
So you think it's this, let's say, cheating, it's because of the judges or because of the dog trainers? You know what I mean? For example, I want to compete in the World Championship, and I see that the scenarios are too difficult for a dog to decide by himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So if you have like 15 minutes scenario that the dog is going back and forth, and on and off and on and off. So like that, many dogs, they are getting lower in.
Yeah,
you know what I want to say?
I agree.
So you are going to play like the real rules, or you are going to play with the rules of the competition, you know?
No, you have to, well, there is no rule of the competition, there are rules on the whole. And you have to play according to the rules.
Yes.
The rule book says very clearly what you have to do.
Yes.
Now, I know it's very fashion in some countries, and some judges, they are very keen on that. They will tell the decoy, all right, defensive handler, You are just to push the dog so it goes into research in a search mood.
For example, this is a good example.
Yeah, I know.
It happens often.
But I am completely against that. If the dog comes to you and he goes in an escort mood, all right, then you take him away. But the dog make the mistake. You didn't provoke the mistake. If you're there provoking the mistake for the dog starting to be in an escort mood so you could put him away, I hate that. I will never let my decoy do something like that. That is not what we want to see.
I understand.
You see? And that is what I was saying. The judge is fully responsible of the trial. And if I don't want the decoy to do that, he's not going to do it. Because if it is not relevant to the dog, you see, I don't want that.
About playing with the rules or not. Another issue that happens in monitoring competitions is the decoying style. So you can see the decoys that they play more by the rules, that normally they come from Belgium, that they are more, let's say, not moving so much. And you can see other decoys that they come maybe from, often from French ring style, that they use a lot of movement in their... And this combines also with the judgments of the judges. And now you are forced to train more like a French ring type of decoying.
That's the proper thing of monitoring. When we started talking about the beginning of monitoring, we said, all right, it comes from different disciplines. French ring, Belgium ring, and so on. And in Belgium, you still have the NVBK part, the north part of Belgium, and you have the south part, the LOSH, right? And the program is a bit different, right? And one of them, you want the dog to have a full grip, strong, and so on. So, and the decoy, why we have that? Because the decoy doesn't move that much.
Nice.
You know, if you have a French ring and the decoy is going to escape the dog, in monitoring you are not allowed to.
Escape.
Just because the Belgian people should be able to also to play monitoring. You know, it makes sense. But now, again, in French ring you are going to escape the dog has to catch you wherever he wants. Maybe the dog is going to come here and he will stay 15 seconds here. The other one, the decoy is not going to move, he will stay 15 seconds there, full bite, which is the best character of the two dogs.
I understand.
Both dogs could have excellent characters. The bite is different because the work of the decoy is different too. So that is the tricky thing in monitoring, because Belgian people, they still play their game in their place, and of course the decoys are more also used to their way of working. So, but okay, I see nothing wrong with that, provided everybody respects the rules and respects the dog. I have nothing to do with one day you will.
And it's kind of, I think it's kind of, let's say, it brings a kind of a beauty in that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That you can expect, okay, in some competitions maybe you don't have so good points, but on the other hand, different kind of approaches, but still in the rules, can make you think more things in training, or to being more progressive with your training with your dog.
But you're fully right, and that is also what trials are meant for. Tomorrow you will see, for example, on the blind, well, I am a bit, I would say, the only thing is tomorrow we only have one dog in level 2 and 3 dogs in level 3. I would have wished there were many more. But then, I didn't want to make things too complicated, but I made a search just to tell people, all right, you might have to work that now and then, because the decoy might not be on the ground all the time. It might be somewhere next to a tree or somewhere like that, right? So you have to work everything, which is the very beautiful part of monitoring, because it changes every time, right? And again, you have one decoy or one judge who is going to be more Belgium style and the other one more French style. I have nothing wrong with that. A good dog will solve the problem by himself, provided everything is going according to the rules. For me, that is the most important thing. Everybody has to respect everybody, and you have to respect the dog, right? And you know, sometimes what I see is people, you know, they're just so happy with a pencil, putting 0, 0, 0. And you know, the tricky thing in monitoring is, by the time the dog does something correct, even if everything is not correct, he does something correct, he must be rewarded for that. Okay? So
it's kind of attitude and kind of how you see things.
Oh yeah.
And as everywhere, you can have good and bad judges, and you can have good and bad decoys.
You have good and bad people too. I mean, yeah, that is the world that is like that. That is the world that is like that. So again, the only thing is, unless it is a very important competition like the World Cup or the other, if you have judges that doesn't respect the rule book, or decoys that doesn't respect the rule book, and they are in this competition, you say, all right, I would have gone to your competition, but excuse me, with this judge and these decoys, I don't go. And what will happen if some 2, 3, 4, 10 people say that. At the end of the day, these guys will stay at home and they will just get out of the loop. And
so they're forced to play by the rules.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I would say very strongly, I try at least never to be out of the rules. Because, you know, if you want to train properly, what you are going to train with? The rule book. Yes. And the rules. So you're working on the rules. If you are doing Olympic Games, right? And you're doing the 110 meter hurdle, right?
Yes.
And you train the whole year with this distance between the hurdle and this height.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you come to the Olympic Games and they say, oh, today will be 2 more steps and 10 centimeters higher. It makes no sense, right? You train according to
the rules.
The rules.
So it's fair for everyone.
Exactly, and that is the only way. And
that you can compete each other in same things.
Not only that, but that is the only way to be fair with everyone. Because at the point of time, according to the way you are going to place your routine, and you have a friend and he knows what you are going to do, he will succeed. And the other one, because it's completely out of the rules, he will fail. That is completely unfair. Oh yeah. The best way not to be unfair is to be according to the rules.
Would you change any exercise? I mean, there are exercises that, for example, the flea attack. A lot of competitors I hear that they want to take it out from the competitions.
We have exactly the same in French ring for the flea attack. The only thing is, normally in a trial, right? In a trial you have selected decoys, certified decoys. These decoys went through a certification. And there were some judges there to say, okay, he's certified or he's not certified. And normally, during the certification, there are flea attacks. If the guy is not able to do a flea attack, you don't certify him. Safe flea attack. And even if he falls, that is not a big deal, provided he doesn't fall on the dog. If the guy is good enough, look, Joachim today, he fell twice, which is not much. Out of 11 dogs, he fell twice. He never fell on the dog. When he fell, all right, he will just go forward, and no problem. The only thing is, the flea attack becomes dangerous if the guy doesn't run. And the dog just hit the wall, then he gets hurt.
Both decoy and dog.
Well, decoy has to run.
Yes.
The dog he didn't ask for anything. He just tell him attack and he goes there. So if the decoy does his job properly, nothing happens to the dog. But the decoy has to absorb the dog correctly and he has to speed up when the dog is coming in. And the rule book is very clear on that. When the dog is about 10 meters from the decoy, he has to speed up and keep that same speed
until the dog bites or until he comes back. Yeah.
Exactly. Just because in Monjoring, the tricky thing is you have 2 flea attacks in level 3, right? You have 2 flea attacks.
The stopped one and the normal. Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't know which one will be that one. Nobody knows. Only the judge knows. So, okay. So the decoy has to have the same attitude for both attacks.
Yes.
So that is why we say, all right, when the dog is about 10 meters behind you, all right, speed up. And also there is also another reason why we brought the flea attack. The flea attack should be an attack between 30, 40 for the maximum 50 meters. Why? Because the idea was, if it is a bit shorter, the dog doesn't have time to speed up that much and he will not go in too hard and hurt himself. You know, that is just to preserve the dog. Okay?
So that's why the meters.
Yeah, make it a little bit shorter.
I understand.
But even if you make it on 20 meters, if the guy doesn't run and doesn't
still
move,
it's dangerous. Yes.
Yeah, it's still dangerous. So the only thing is, you have to, if you are selected, if you are certified, you have to do a correct flea attack. And if you are not able, I am going to put you out. It's as simple as that.
How you think of Monjoring in the future, and what would you like to see to happen in Monjoring?
Well, what I would like to see, right now, what I am seeing right now is a good progression in Monjoring. And I just hope this will continue. And hopefully, because now FCI recognized Monjoring, fully recognized Monjoring, some countries who were a bit shy to come in and play Monjoring, like Germany and many Nordic countries where they're not allowed to make dog bites, hopefully they will come back a little bit more to Monjoring.
In the last 3 or 4 years is really the competitors go higher and higher, and in level of training also. But in general, in the world, let's say, basis, protection sports are being criticized.
Yeah.
So, especially Central or North Europe countries, they are really hard with their laws about dog training and protection dog sports.
Yeah, but even in France too. In France, you have very strict laws about that. I heard in Belgium, in some towns and some districts, the mayors wanted just to ban biting work. Okay, the only thing is, at a point of time, there are so many, sometimes there are accidents, very dramatic accidents. And everybody says, all right, dog bite that kid, he killed that kid, which is not nice at all. Now, that's because we make dog bite, which is not true at all. We don't want aggressive dog, we want sports dog, right? Not dogs that will attack everyone.
It's like you're sending your kid to a karate club.
Yeah.
You're not sending your kid to become a killer or something.
Exactly, the same thing. So, but the only thing is, people doesn't know exactly what it is. And when you see a dog bite, and because you are afraid the dog will bite you, then you already have a negative connection. Besides that, if you have some dramatic accident going on, then they say, yes, all right, that is because they teach the dogs to bite. And because they don't know exactly what it is. I would very much would like more people would come and see some of our events and see that dogs are social. And that is why I personally do, because I don't know if there are a lot of people watching, and that is why, the dog finishes routine. He had 10 minutes biting hard and so on. At the end I say, okay, good job, and I pat the dog is very nice. So the dog is not aggressive.
So it's really important for the people to see the difference.
Oh yeah. To see that the dog is doing what we ask him to do, but he's controlled. That's why the out, we want the dog to out properly and so on. Exactly. So that's what we have to show. I know it's very difficult in many countries, but it's not the fault of the dog, it's the fault of the people. Dogs are not, globally dogs are not just like humans, And then you get a mad guy, he might kill people and so on. Okay, that is one exception. And dogs are animals too. But on the whole, you have far more social and good dogs than bad dogs.
Yes.
Dogs are bad, most of the time it's the people who made them bad.
And normally dogs that are bad behaved are dogs that they are not worked out.
Yeah.
They're not trained into anything.
They're not properly trained
or at all. Not trained at all.
Exactly.
Most of bitings that happened, for example, in Greece, and we had some serious bitings last year, happened from dogs that they weren't trained. Really, in nothing.
I know.
So again, media, because it's for marketing, sells this propaganda about killer dogs, about killer breeds, about pit bulls, Rottweilers, or whatever. So every time is something that it's really nice for an article as a head line, but this headline affects a lot the idea people have about dogs.
Exactly, and our sports. It affects our sports a lot. And if you see in France, I remember very well, at the time you had very bad accidents with sort of people's dogs that were made to fight each other and so on. That was a long time ago. And nobody said anything about that. That was exactly at the same time there was the World Soccer Cup, Football Cup. And all the people in the papers and so on, they were talking about football and so on and so on. So they didn't have place to put this accident. If everything is calm, no big news, then okay, this dog was biting this old lady and so on, then they make 3 pages out of that. And then of course,
people are getting affected. Yes.
Exactly. And that will affect us a lot. And that is why we have to show that we are doing the right thing.
I think the dog sport people, and especially the protection sport, sportsmen, we have a lot of problems in our sports with regulations. You know what I mean? Because we care, which is normal, a lot about the training, but we don't pay any attention to our politics. And I know it's good, or I know it's not good, but when it's about association, it's about votes, it's about laws, politics are there. So I think it's really important how we promote also the sports.
Exactly.
And how we affect and we accept new people, and so I think it's kind of as protection sport people, we have a little bit also
we have a lot, not a
part,
responsibility. Yes. Oh yeah, a lot. And that is why in my trials, it could be in Frenching, Monjoing, whatever, what I tell my decoys, I don't want any violence on the dogs. You could do a hard work, respectful of the dog. I don't want to be violent with the dogs. Also because, first, I don't like that. The dog is not there to be hit like hell. Second of all, when you see people watching that, they say, oh, I could understand this dog is going to bite someone. Look at how they beat him. Now he's going to be revengeful on a kid and so on. And people make a
image.
Exactly, make a bad image out of that. So we have to be
really careful about
exactly
what we show and how we show.
Exactly. But you know, in France at the time, we had new laws from 1999, and now, for example, you cannot just go around the street and make a dog bite. You have to make a dog bite. First of all, the dog has to be registered. He has to be of a certain breed. Not all dogs are allowed to bite, right?
But for example, isn't that kind of strange? I mean, why some breeds are allowed to bite and some others are not?
Well, normally, if you call ICI, the SCC or the Greek Federation,
yes,
their reason to be there is to do what? To improve the quality of the dogs. And to improve the quality of the dogs on two ways, physically and mentally, right? So, physically is all the shows, the exposition and so on. You had today, I saw a lot of very nice Groenendals, as a matter of fact. That is for the physical part. And mentally, some breeds are allowed to work, they are working dogs. And how you could better their character just by making a selection out of some work. So that is the main reason of this federations. And that is how we come to make dogs bite. And
that's why you allow or not,
exactly,
depending on the breed.
Yeah, but not only that. At a point of time, just imagine you have the Great Dane, right? This guy is about 80 kilograms,
yes,
a big guy. They're not allowed to bite. Just imagine you make this dog bite. Some of them, they don't want to bite, they're very quiet and so on. But if you have one of those dogs, he likes to bite and you don't control him, it could be very dangerous.
But it's the same with the Malinois.
Oh yeah, it is. No, I agree. I agree. But saying that, the selection on the Malinois, on the character of the Malinois has been done for many, many years. And now we are getting a model which is rather good. On the Great Danes, we haven't done this character selection, right? So out of the loop, you might get one that is completely out of his mind, and it could be a very dangerous dog. And the best way to avoid all that is say, all right, this dog, because of his power, his morphology and so on, they're not allowed, they're not meant to bite.
But what I want to say is that this logic about forbidding isn't kind of the same logic like, okay, for being safe, I say Great Dane is not allowed to bite. And then one or two accidents happen, and then I say, like, okay, because more accidents happen, I block biting at all. No breed can bite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So isn't that really a dangerous game of
no, I don't
rules
think so.
and
no,
laws?
I will tell you, I will give you a few examples. In France, for example, as I was saying, SCC, according to FCI also, they have a list of dogs who are allowed to bite. And, you know, every dog, every breed has what is called the standard, right? The standard is the description of the dog, physically and mentally, okay? And in the standard, it said, okay, those are working dogs, they're allowed to work. All right. Now, in France, for example, we had the dogs from the Camilla, some Molossoid dogs, and the Dogo Argentino, for example, they were not allowed to bite. And the club, the breeding club, they say, oh, we would like these dogs to do some biting. And they came up to SCC and they say, yeah, and we are going to put in the standard, we are going to put, they are allowed to work. So SCC, yes, they say, all right, if you can better the character of the dog, we agree with you. Okay, we are going to put it in the list on a probatory period. We are going to give you 3 years, right? 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, they came back and say, all right,
what are the results of your...
Was there any improvement because you allowed these dogs to bite? All right. Improvement is what? They get some result in working competition, right? At the end of the day, they look and they say, well, not even one dog had a brevet. So then they say, hey, we are taking some risk because you said you wanted to better the character of the dog, but the risk compared to the result is too much. So now we take him out of the list.
I understand.
And you see, it makes sense.
Yes,
I mean, everything is moving in the right. It has to move in the right way. No, I don't say this dog is not allowed to bite, but some dogs physically it's not proper to make them. And some dogs are smarter than the others. Some dogs are more receptive than others. So
I understand.
It makes sense. And if you look, most of the dogs who are working dogs are dogs that have been working with men for thousands of years. And usually, shepherd dogs.
Dogs like that.
Exactly, dogs like that. Because they're already
communicating and
exactly very close to man, right? So they're already not in biting process, but they've already been working with men in herding and so on, herding dogs, shepherd dogs, and so on. And most of the working dogs are those type of dogs.
So judging today our competition, what is it your first time in Greece, right?
For judging, yes. Not otherwise I would have been already in Greece for my job. Yeah.
Vacations or?
No. For my job, we had seminars in Greece and so on. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So about the competition, what is your thinking about the competitors in Greece? From what you have seen in Category 1 today?
Well, I have seen some very good dogs, and others which are not bad dogs. They lack some things in training, and of course, most of the handlers lack experience. Also, a lot of them doesn't know the rules, and they don't see the benefit they could get out of the rules, just applying the rules. You know, sometimes you see handlers that just take for granted the dog is going to do it like that. I saw a lady today on the heeling. Okay, pre-start, they go to the start, she goes to the start, she doesn't say anything. Okay, put the horn, she just walk away, she never told the dog to heel. So just imagine a young dog, we are talking about level 1, right? A young dog, he's distracted by somebody else. The lady is going to move away, he stays there, she loses all the points. The example I say...
I think this is more like a competition experience. That people are getting into the field and they are getting less stress and they know better the rules and where they can...
Yeah, but I mean, you know, in the rule book it's very clearly stated in the rule book...
You have to give a command.
What is said is you cannot go into a competition, pretend to go and compete if you don't know the rules and what the rules allow you. That's what I was saying before. When you train according to the rules, and you have to take all the advantage that the rule book is giving you. I don't want you to cheat, but use whatever. For example, on the send away, in monitoring, on the pre-start, you could motivate your dog, right? I saw some people go for the send away, they will just go there, send away. The dog does whatever he wants. Yeah. Others will just motivate the dogs, and that is allowed.
So why you don't use it?
Exactly. And the lady, you know, she wouldn't speak to the dog. She was very much stressed. The example I gave, if there are a bunch of people there and I say, okay, get the white chair for me. Nobody is going to move. Why nobody is going to move? Because nobody knows who I am talking to. If I say, George, go and get the white chair for me. Maybe George is going to get the white chair because George, I'm talking to George now.
Yes.
The dog is exactly the same. The dog could be distracted and say, hey, heel, in the name of the dog. Paco, heel. Paco, is you. Heel. Okay, yes. There we go. And you know, that's what I was saying. I think they don't profit enough. They don't get
out of the dog.
Yeah, out of the rules and what they are allowed to do.
Thank you very much for everything. Judging us today was great. Everything was really nice. I hope we see you again in Greece, or we come to your competition outside of Greece.
Yeah.
And thank you really a lot about giving me this interview.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Surfing, that's all we wanna do.